This is the battle for Middle-earth, fought over 3 chapters of ever-escalating cunning and savagery, as the Ring's death race is plagued by the Nazgul's hunt. The eternal struggle for power envelops every possible decision. Armies clash, abilities are unleashed, and races unite. Light versus dark, good versus evil, a one-on-one rivalry to decide the fate of Middle-earth. But everything is definitely not how it appears, because under this immaculate lid, something sinister awaits. Something so heinous, even the mighty Sauron would tremble in fear. What the fuck? In this video, you'll see all the exquisite finds and every diabolical blunder baked into this game right here, where these discoveries are unwittingly hidden. And before deciding if we like the game and tallying all of our totals, we answer the question, how ruthlessly can we hack it? There's computer hackers, there's board game testers, and then there's me, Pones Jones, a master board game hacker. I've been building/hacking computers since I was 12, and board gaming for even longer. I'm a white hat, using my skills for good. Oh, and I've got my trusted friend Gary Blevins from Board Game Nation helping me out on this one.
My grandma always told me, never miss a chance to do a little dance. Hey guys, Gary here. Now, Pones, let the hacking begin.
Middle-earth is teetering on the cliff of absolute carnage, as the One Ring, burdening Sam and Frodo, is already halfway on its journey back to the fires of Mount Doom, aggressively pursued by the enslaved Nazgul. Meanwhile, the 6 races of Middle-earth sway the balance of power as the Fellowship and Sauron invade and build fortifications against each other to claim control of the known world. Will the Fellowship destroy Sauron, or will Sauron succeed in enslaving all of Middle-earth? Just look at this lid. The opposing powers, the flawless artwork. I'm literally smitten. But wait till you see the map. It is perfectly not square. It has cutouts along the top for your shield tokens, and it's been aged so well that it has notches around the edges to show that it's wrinkled. And the armies, they are little wood tokens, and they're surprisingly detailed. But what I love the most, my favorite thing, are these coins. They're so oddly shaped. It feels almost reckless. But there's more. The cards and the tiles, they're delightfully familiar and pristine. And when you look at the Quest of the Ring track, you can see that it goes from the Shire all the way through Middle-earth to Mount Doom. Even the game mechanics and card layouts harken back to the 7 Wonders version of this 2-player Duels game, where it all began. Oh my god! I think maybe the only proper thing I could do is get an IV of all of this. Take my wallet.
Lord of the Rings Duel for Middle-earth plays over 3 consecutive chapters that closely follows the Lord of the Rings trilogy. You'll take on the role of either the Yellow Fellowship or the Grey Armies of Sauron, gathering skills and coins to play cards in the face of your enemy. And, depending on your alliance, you'll race to rescue or destroy the One Ring to rule them all. The fate of Middle-earth is decided in one of 3 ways. First, if either side collects all 6 Green Alliance cards, they've formed an unbreakable alliance and they win. Number 2. If either side is able to conquer all of Middle-earth, a feat not achieved since the fall of Morgoth at the end of the First Age, they are victorious. Or, finally, as it should be, the fate of Middle-earth can be tied to the Quest of the Ring. If the Fellowship, namely Frodo and Sam, is able to destroy the One Ring and the very fires of Mount Doom, they will fly away on the eagles into the free air. But the Nazguls are in relentless pursuit of our fair hobbits. If these forces of Sauron are able to catch up with them and reclaim the One Ring for their Dark Lord, well, that'd be bad. Looking across the table at your enemy's resources, you try to predict where and how they're going to play out their next turn. As you strategically take cards from the chapter layout, you also have to consider the cards you'll be uncovering for your enemy to choose on their turns. Sometimes the chapter cards are utterly useless to you, but could be a boon to your enemy or even hand them the game and dominion over all of Middle-earth. and then you remember, ah yes, I can discard a chapter card for coins. I'll say that option definitely has the feel of, if I can't have this card, neither can you. Oh, and the cards have this clever chaining ability, so I can spend resources on that card, or I could chain this one to get it for free. I'll admit that finding just the right cards to build up a matching chain gives you a very my precious kind of feel. As you get later in the game, it can be a lot of fun to watch your anxiety-riddled opponents squirm as they watch you lord over all of your choices of shield token abilities as you're constantly referencing their resources, just before you snag the most destructive one. This game also includes a component with a rather savvy design, specifically for tracking the quest of the ring. I think this might be Elvish, actually. Yes, of course, it functions as a score tracker to crown a possible winner of the game, but its design also ratchets up everyone's anticipation as the Black Riding Ring race closes in on our halflings. Run, little hobbitses, run! But in the unlikely event that a winner has not been declared before the end of the third chapter, players then count who's got presence in the most regions on the board. Because towers and armies count separately as presence in a region, scoring areas on the map almost always have overlaps. This makes it feel like you're playing two area control strategy games at the same time. But not to worry, the gameplay is extremely well balanced. You never feel like one side has an unfair advantage because, well, they don't.
First, we're gonna uncover the box and all the debauchery hiding in plain sight. Like we already said, the lid is immaculate. But if you were to grab this off of a game store shelf, the next place you'd look would be the back. A back riddled with inconsistencies. 12 to be exact. Please tell me that's right side up. It is not! The most obvious transgression, the Fellowship pieces are a brownish gray. Instead of yellow, the Alliance Feather token is a Hobbit-only ability, but has very obviously been pulled from the dwarf's stack. The Mount Doom symbol at the end of the Quest of the One Ring track is yellow instead of white. All the red card banners have a different layout than in the game, and they're all missing their unique artworks. Not to mention the Ruse payment icons are green instead of black. And there's two chaining symbols that don't look like any others in the game. What is that one? Some sort of weather prediction? But let's look inside for a second. Everything has a place to be. These slots, they're for your shield tokens. And as you populate them, you begin to realize it's almost like they're on display on the inside, unlike the cards. Now, we all agree they have immaculate artwork, but they're rather flimsy. And if you look, they're bending all in the exact same way, like that. I can't get them to stop. There's just decks of bend. But what about the game's setup? Well, with the assistance of some diagrams, it's actually pretty straightforward. And learning the game mechanic, it's actually pretty light. My 8-year-old son did it in like 15 minutes. Mind you, he was doing algebra in the first grade, so yes, the ring tracker does the whole bad guys keep up with the good guys. But look at the rest of the game. Things are aged, they have deep colors, they're very earthy, not this acrylic plastic. This shiny acrylic doesn't let you get immersed in the game. And that's tragic. Okay, here's another one for you. It feels a bit odd that the Fellowship army can take over and control the region of Mordor, also placing a tower there. They can do all of this, and the game still plays. The lore of the region does not matter. I'm a strategy game player, and this feels really weird. It's icky. It feels icky. The game tells you to keep all of your cards in your play area on the table. Things can get crowded really, really fast, which actually slows down your turn quite a bit. Everything from land tiles to shield tokens to cards that literally just got you 2 coins. All are supposed to live here forever. So I keep every skill card, chainable card, and green card. The rest, including land tiles, are simply discarded. It makes your play area way easier to navigate as people stare at you while you're taking forever to restudy your cards. Which reminds me, every game starts out the same, with loads of possibilities from the chapter layout. Ooh, I can draw this one, do that, or I could get this and do that. But as the game progresses, your logical next move becomes more and more obvious. It feels a bit forced, almost like the game's got you on a slight autopilot in this direction. And then a major fork happens, and you end up with 3 to 4 ways to approach your next turn. Oh my god. Do I do this? Do I buy one of those? Do I go for that? But will he go for that? If I take this, that uncovers that for him, and he's got summon. And to make things worse, the further you go in this game, there are loads of forks that show up. All of this, admittingly, brings some spice to the game. But on the other hand, the opposite player sitting waiting for you to have a coronary embolism, well, they get bored. Really bored. You just gotta have your little army figures have a little battle amongst themselves, you know what I mean? But let's hit pause for half a second and take a look at the code book. When I hit page 3, I remember declaring out loud, "This is the best damn rulebook I have ever read." It's clean, easy to understand, and professionally laid out. And then you look closer. In some of the pics, the units and Mount Doom space are the wrong colors again. But what's more egregious, as you're reading rule after rule, you start to realize that quite a few of them don't have a complete idea or concept. The book gets you 80 to 90% of the way there, and then expects you to mentally fill in the rest. It's a damn shame, but it's not as big of a shame as what I'm about to tell you. Conflicting official how to play videos. So the rule in question is, after playing a chapter card, you don't have to perform its action at all. That statement showed up twice in the officially sponsored Watch It Played video. And Rodney Smith's response? This information I got by asking the publisher directly, Repos Production, who clearly done goofed because that rule was not anywhere in the official rules video or in the code book. It doesn't change the gameplay much, but it does feel slightly incoherent. Ugh. Just giving you a heads up. But what about the hacks? How hackable is this game? Well, let's start out with a glitch. A very odd money glitch in the green card race abilities. As you know, if you don't want to play a card, you can opt to discard it and you get the money displayed on the back. What if you have the human ability of ×2 money on discard? There is 3 money cards later on in the game. A 3 and 2 5s. If you have this token, then discarding these cards makes you more money than playing them. That feels really weird, like you're stepping outside of the game to accomplish something. It feels like a glitch. It's a money-making glitch. But what about the hacks? First off, what is a board game hack? Well, much like a tech hack, it's where we make the game do something it's not intended to do by exploiting holes in its code book. Like this one. The Crimson Horde. You can literally point a fiery red death beam directly into any region you wish, placing you on the fast track to map victory. To get a race ability, those shield tokens, you have to collect 2 of the same or 3 differing green cards. It's possible to get 2 shields rather early on, a few cards into the second chapter to be exact. So grab both an elf and a human ability, pick the 2 red card effect shields. Next, bum rush the 11 possible remaining red combat cards, and you'd be genuinely brandishing nukes. The human ability gets you +1 for each card you play, and the elf ability lets you point that Crimson Horde beam at any region you fancy. That's so good. It's too much. It's too much. It's too much. Remember, if you can conquer all of Middle-earth, then you win. And even though it may be luck-driven, this Crimson Horde nuclear bomb beam is a shatteringly deadly weapon. But what about this second hack? You can literally shut down one of 3 ways of winning this game, and there's absolutely nothing your opponent can do to reverse it. It's something that I like to call The Alliance Barricade. You can collect one of each of the green card races to unite Middle-earth and win. That's 6 green cards. But if you can only collect 5, then the game lets you cheat by getting a Hobbit feather. The feather lets you fill in for one of the missing 6. So what then happens if I snatch up the only 2 Hobbit cards in the game? Well, that means that you don't have a Hobbit to complete the 6, and you also don't have access to the feather to stand in for the Hobbit that you're missing, because that is a Hobbit ability. Alliance barricaded. Let's quantify all this. Where does Lord of the Rings Duels land in our hackability scale? From locked down to vulnerable to compromised to more holes than a sponge. This game lands on the higher end of vulnerable. A glitch and 2 luck hacks ain't exactly gonna destroy the gaming experience, but if you do happen to luck into one, ooh-wee! But I'm gonna hand it back over to Gary to set up our tally totals.
Thanks. Now let's talk good, bad, totals, and, whether or not we actually like this game. So, how many exceptional or distinguished Silmarils did we detect in Lord of the Rings Duel for Middle-earth?
16, which is actually quite a lot. It's up there with Scythe from a previous video. But keep in mind, this is not comparing the exceptional finds versus the game mistakes. It's easier to make mistakes, and every game has them. It's much harder to create a game with notable elements. 16. This game was very well made.
Well, here's a big question. How many troll droppings, fallen ants, and broken horns of Gondor did we discover in the Lord of the Rings Duel for Middle-earth?
29. It sounds like a lot, but it's not. Actually, I think this is the lowest number of mistakes I've ever seen.
And now, on to our final riddle in the dark. Do we actually like this game? Would we steal this game to the heartbreak of the tortured Smeagol of the Riverfolk? More than that, would we wrestle this game from the cold, dead hand of Beagle?
Well, before I give you my answer, I want to say thank you to Gary Blevins for all of his work, and I encourage everyone to go check him out over at Board Game Nation. He does unboxing, playthroughs, how-tos, and much more. Link below. Alrighty, here we go. Do we like this game? It's a 2-player game going in numerous directions all at once, but it doesn't have a raw feel of being chaotic or forced, and none of it leaves you with a sour taste in your mouth, even if you lose. In other words, it's like you're co-piloting an ever-changing roller coaster while sitting in the same car as your opponent, trying frantically to beat each other in the face. But once the rules become second nature, the games go by fairly quickly. It's a perfect couples versus game, and I'd say, yes, we like it. We's like it a lot, Hobbitses. This one should be on your shelf, no excuses. But there's something else going on here, and in this next video, it's something that Duels didn't do to their Lord of the Rings fanbase. Something that can only be described as an egregious betrayal for every Warhammer 40k fan. It's almost like they did it on purpose.